Thank you, one and all, for being here. This is always a wonderful gathering of people who track the economics of the state. And this year, in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, we thank Lane Beatty for his excellent leadership, and to say that the Chamber has been an indispensable partner in putting our budget together and in helping us identify priorities for which we are very, very grateful. I want to thank Juliet for her great leadership. It was said yesterday on CNBC, and many of our great staff members are here from the governor's office. They wonder why I'm so cranky and moody when I get to work every morning. It's because I wake up to CNBC, basically. But yesterday, they talked about the best jobs in America, and they included 1, a mathematician, 2, being an actuary, and 3, being a statistician. And Juliet is all of the above, so I think she has tremendous job satisfaction, and I just want to tell her how grateful we are. Now, we took a climb up Mount Olympus a few weeks ago, and I've got to tell you that Juliet gave up way too early. I don't know if acrophobia and economics go hand in hand, but she did. She put forward best efforts. I want to thank Mark Zandi for being here. I wore a school tie, Mark, hoping that you would show a little empathy. I don't know if that's working or not, but we're delighted to have Mark here, who is so widely respected and is so influential in terms of those with whom he consults. And I can tell you in the Corps of Governors that he is about the most respected economist out there. I want to thank our Council of Economic Advisors, those from the business community, those from academia, the public sector, all who have fed into this document. Jason Perry is here, who has done a great job on the economic development side. Mayor Caroon is here, who's an outstanding public servant and a great friend. I thank him for all that he does. I'm reminded as I stand before you this morning, and I'll keep my comments very brief and to the point, of an analogy that I want to draw by way of describing British Air Flight 9 that took off June of 1982 from London, England, en route to Sydney, Australia. And something strange happened as it was flying over the vast archipelago of Indonesia. It had stopped in Singapore to refuel, and off it went again en route to Sydney. And as it was flying over Mount Galunggung, it ran into sulfuric ash from a volcano that had erupted the day before. And something rather unprecedented occurred with this massive Boeing 747. You can read about it in aviation history. It's an interesting story. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but all 4 of the engines flamed out on the 747 right over West Java. And the 747 all of a sudden became the world's largest glider. And then something really interesting happened. Captain Moody got on the PA system, and in what was a masterpiece of understatement, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have a small problem. All 4 engines have stopped. We are doing our damnedest to get them going again, but I trust this doesn't cause you much distress." I hope this doesn't cause you much distress. Well, I feel a little bit like I'm sitting on that plane when I hear the news of the national economy, but I'm also well aware that the pilots of that 747 were able to restart those engines after it lost a little bit of altitude, regain its cruising altitude, as no doubt we will as a state and as a nation, and ultimately they made a safe landing in Sydney. Well, I say that because I'm also the world's greatest optimist, but I try to be a realist. I'm not running for political office anymore. We just had our re-election, and that's it as far as I'm concerned. So I try to be a realist as much as I can from a public policy standpoint. Let me just tell you that the environment that you've already heard from Mark and Juliet is a very bad one. Bailouts, buyouts, takeovers abound. The nation has shed millions of jobs, $13 trillion in wealth in the stock and housing markets has disappeared. Instability is spreading through both the developed and the emerging nations of the world. And Utah's economy is not immune, as we are all learning. There are a lot of pressure points that the national picture brings to our local economy that we all have to be aware of. So there are two things that I'm keenly aware of right now and that I think about every day as governor. Number one, are we doing everything possible to address the needs of the most vulnerable in our society? And I've got to tell you, during the holiday break, I made a lot of visits to different places in the metropolitan area, the food bank, the road home, just to mention a couple. And I've got to tell you, I was so impressed with the way this state has rallied behind those who are most in need during a time of difficulty. That should be issue number one for all of us. How is it that we're treating our neighbor? How is it that we are treating those most in need? Because I've always believed that we are only as good, only as strong as the least of those in our society. So when I went to the food bank, they had a huge goal to meet. And they basically met that goal in terms of restocking their inventory in their warehouse. When I went to the road home, they were undertaking a very ambitious fundraising drive. And the interesting thing being is they were basically right where they were a year ago in terms of pledges and raised dollars to help those who were going through some very difficult and challenging times, even families and kids. And I thought, this is remarkable in this state, that when times are tough and the economy is down, still we have those who are willing to reach out and help those who are going through difficult circumstances of their own. And to think that the fundraising levels were at a par with where we were last year, which was a much different year.